I took your love lightly. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? All of the pain that I've been through all goes away every night that I call on you. All of my life I wish I knew I could be at your shrine if I just cried for you. You were my first love on this earth. My heart has been burning for you ever since birth. With my last breath, I want to see your face above, telling me that you accept me. I wish I was in Karbala. For you I'd go instead of the son of Layla. My chest for you until today is a shield. I hope to die while on your way. Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. And everyone together, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. For the one with no friends on his own, You come to his side when he's alone. I call out to you. You respond to me. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, stay with me. I'm sorry, I took your love lightly. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. When the world throws everything my way, from your path my heart begins to sway. Keep me close to you, don't get rid of me. Keep me close to you, don't get rid of me. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, I'm in need. I must be freed from the chains of my greed. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, I'm in need. I must be freed from the chains of my greed. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, stay with me. I'm sorry, I took your love lightly. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? All of the pain that I've been through all goes away every night that I call on you. All of my life I wish I knew I could be at your shrine if I just cried for you. You were my first love on this earth. My heart has been burning for you ever since birth. With my last breath, I want to see your face above, telling me that you accept me. I wish I was in Karbala. For you I'd go instead of the son of Layla. My chest for you until today is a shield. I hope to die while on your way. Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. And everyone together, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. For the one with no friends on his own, you come to his side when he's alone. I call out to you, you respond to me. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, stay with me. I'm sorry I took your love lightly. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. When the world throws everything my way, from your path my heart begins to sway. Keep me close to you, don't get rid of me. Keep me close to you, don't get rid of me. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, I'm in need. I must be freed from the chains of my greed. Oh Hussein, oh Hussein, I'm in need. I must be freed from the chains of my greed. Oh Hussein, Hussein, say with me, I'm sorry, I took your love lightly. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, who am I that you are mine? Your love is God's great sign. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, Shaykh Usama. Inshallah, we would like to welcome you all once again to tonight's Muharram program. Inshallah, to start off our program tonight, I would like to welcome our dear brother Ali Hamdani for some recitation from the Holy Quran. Please help me welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Ahsant, brother. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Inshallah, before welcoming our brother Hassan Saleme, inshallah, if we could all please recite Surah Al-Fatiha for the anonymous donors who sponsored the nights, Imam Khomeini, the Shuhada, and all of your marhumin, inshallah. Bismillah. Inshallah, now if we could please welcome our dear brother Hassan Saleme with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Respected Shaykh Usama, brothers and sisters, we are here yet again to commemorate the tragedy that befell our master Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam and his holy family. We offer our condolences yet again to the Imam of the time, to the leader, to all of the maraji', all of the ulama, and all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat around the world. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. This poem touches on a concept that has been repeated many times in these nights, and that is making sure that this commemoration does not become a ritual. And in order for it not to become a ritual, we really have to try to put ourselves in the shoes of those who were in Karbala and try to embody the characteristics that they had. Tonight being the night, inshaAllah, of Abbas Abbas alayhi salam, based on some traditions and the style in which the nights are commemorated, we must remember that Abul Fadl and the spirit of Abul Fadl lives on today. And if we are too afraid, and speaking to myself, we're too afraid to say what is happening today and making these connections, the message, as the Shaykh mentioned yesterday, will be lost. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. It is up to us, inshaAllah, to preserve the message and the reality of Ashura. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The moon, white and bright in attendance. The moon, fearless in its vengeance. The moon, destroying the enemies in ascendance, dominating like a lion on the battlefield of transcendence. The moon, illuminating but upon the sun dependent. And the sun knew that the moon's death had reached impendence. But before we remember how from his horse the Qamar of Banu Hashim violently descended, it is as if Hussein looks to us and questions. What is the purpose of the sun and the moon but to give us vision, allow us to see for what is darkness but a prison? And in darkness, do not be so consumed with the sun and the moon that you forget the Lord who allows them to illuminate by His permission, to make the words transparent. Do not be blinded by the beauty and valor of Hussein and Abbas that you forget their mission. Do not become ritualistic. To remember only the sadness and hardship of Karbala's condition. Do not be only concerned with tradition. The purpose of these yearly majalis is admonition. To remember that in every era there will be a pharaoh who enslaves us. So God awakens us through Ashura the way Musa awakened the magicians, who told the pharaoh, even if you cut us to pieces, it is only Allah we worship in submission. Do not become ritualistic. To remember only the sadness and hardship of Karbala's condition. Do not only be concerned with tradition. Do not remember Abbas's flag without remembering who raises it today. Do not remember Abbas without extending your mind in cognition, contemplating it to reach recognition, asking who today stands closest to Hussein and Abbas's position. Karbala is an ignition that burns past the past so that the flame of Hussein in this day and age transitions. These majalis are not just memories, these traditions are transmissions, so that the slavery and dhillah of today reaches abolition, an acquisition of divine truths and definitions, defining the path of Hussein and Yazid as clear expositions. But it is funny today how we claim the name of Hussein and Abbas with inherent contradictions in our stances and convictions. How can we say our times are different than the time of Hussein? How can we say our times are different than the time of Hussein? Do they not try to strike fear in our hearts just the same? Do they not try and slander our heroes' names? Haj Qasim was a terrorist, they say. Haj Qasim was a terrorist, they say, so they killed him. But they won't tell you they killed the top commander who was destroying ISIS, like Abbas, who sent Yazid's soldiers into the abyss. They won't tell you how our country used tax dollars we make to overthrow regimes, oppress and devastate, drone strike and disintegrate, then use propaganda to clean their image while they physically and character assassinate. And cold-blooded murder is at that point absolved. At that point, their international laws and human rights dissolved. Because it is easy to rewrite the rules when you think you are strong, but you're wrong. Because they do not know that the sons and daughters of Abbas will not be strung along. But know, O sons and daughters of Abbas. But know, O sons and daughters of Abbas, that you must prepare yourselves. For if you stand for truth today, you will be branded just like Abu al-Fadl and Imam al-Hussein. If you stand for truth today, you will be branded just like Abu al-Fadl and Imam al-Hussein. So we must use a standard so history does not play again backward. We must connect Ashura to today. We must connect Ashura to today. Today, it is the innate disposition to fear the ruling class and politicians because we fear we will come under suspicion. But I ask you, if you fear the Yazid of your time, if you were in Kufa, then what would be your position? But I ask you, if you fear the Yazid of your time, if you were in Kufa, then what would be your position? They killed the Abbas of then, and they killed the Abbas of today in repetition, an erroneous supposition. An erroneous supposition is that you suppose that if you were alive in the time of Hussein, you would be on the side of truth. But let us be honest that between the truth and ourselves, the love of this dunya is a partition. It makes us afraid to say the name Haj Qasim Sulaymani. It makes us afraid to say the name Haj Qasim Sulaymani. It makes us afraid to ask those who killed him, what crime did he commit? It made the Kufans kill the water bearer who sought to bring children the water they would not permit. It makes us afraid to say that Haj Qasim was a hero and not a terrorist, no matter how the spin doctors and media manufactured it. It made us afraid to say that the flag of Abbas and the flag of the resistance are the only ones waving against the arrogant. Even non-Muslims praise the Jedi and stand against the imperialist. So I ask you, if we do not connect Karbala to today, so I ask you, if we do not connect Karbala to today, I ask you the purpose of the moon, Abbas, if we are to hide in darkness. I ask for the purpose of the sun, Hussein, if we will not be illuminated by the sparklet. I ask you the purpose of Ashura, if it doesn't give us the courage to say what is hardest. I ask you the purpose of Islam and why it started. If not to illuminate us through the darkness and find the source of light, I say keep your rituals in 10 nights. If not to illuminate us through the darkness and find the source of light, I say keep your rituals in 10 nights. For the moon and the sun have no purpose but to make this world after darkness bright. And that will never happen if we are afraid to say and do what is right tonight. In honor of Haj Qasim, 3 times, Labbaik ya Abbas! Labbaik ya Abbas! Labbaik ya Abbas! Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Ahsant, inshallah, if we could get another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, just a few announcements before we begin. Inshallah, the 8th annual Ashura procession will be happening this Sunday, August 7th. Inshallah, we will assemble at Fortson School and walk towards Ford Woods Park. Al-Ajal presents its poetry slam that will be happening Sunday, August 7th at 9:45 p.m. Inshallah, if you want to reach out to them through their Instagram page, Al-Ajal, then you could find out some more information. Inshallah, we also do have the library in the back of some recommended books that we could inshallah all benefit from, so please feel free to look at that as well. And then lastly, if we want, just a reminder that there is the cafeteria open downstairs. We just kindly ask parents to use their discretion if they feel that their kids need to move around and get some more space, to please feel free to go down there. The program is being live streamed. We just ask to please not let your children go alone for safety reasons, and to please join them and come back up when you're ready, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And just a reminder, inshallah, our Seeds for Hussein campaign, alhamdulillah, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the support of the mu'mineen, we have reached 22K of our 180K goal to purchase the property to, inshallah, expand our school and to expand our Imam Rida Park. Inshallah, this Friday and Saturday, for those who want to give a check or cash donation, there will be a table in the front. But like before, there's the online platforms as well. So inshallah, thank you guys all for your support, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, we will continue our nightly lectures titled The Tranquil Soul with Shaykh Usama. Please help me welcome him with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وارواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Brothers and sisters, this year with the help of Allah and the blessing of the Ahlul Bayt, we are taking inspiration from one of the many beautiful verses of the Holy Quran. As Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainnah, O tranquil soul. Now before I begin, is there echo? Because I'm feeling like there's a little bit of echo, and I don't want, sometimes if there's a lot of echo, it's uncomfortable for the audience. Salawat please. So tonight, on this 6th day, what we try to do is we take Abba Abdullah al-Hussein as a teacher. We sit at his feet and we try collectively to learn lessons, practical lessons, on how to acquire Quranic tranquility, that true peace that Allah wants the mu'mineen and mu'minat to have. Now, before I take or offer any reminders on how to take practical steps, I want to start by asking, inshallah, some practical questions. Some questions that, inshallah, we want to address over the course of the lectures. Kind of reminders for ourselves, help us keep our minds organized. So, the questions are, 1, what exactly do we need tranquility for? We're talking a lot about sakina, about itminan, about amn. What exactly do we need these for? That's question number 1. Number 2, what can we do or how can we help other mu'mineen and mu'minat to experience this peace and tranquility? Our families, our spouses in particular. Is there anything we can do? Where the first question is, why do we need it? The second question, is there any responsibility, any way that we could perhaps take some steps which allow our families, other mu'mineen and mu'minat, to be able to experience this peace? The third question, which is a very important question, and maybe tonight we're going to spend more time on this question, is, do our children, the most valuable and the most vulnerable, do they need tranquility and peace? The most valuable and the most vulnerable, those who, because they were just born not too long ago, their souls are actually closer to the fitrah. You and I, we've been in this world for a long time. Perhaps we've made mistakes, perhaps we've gotten away from our fitrah. But those believers, those next generation of believers, are there any things that we can do? Do they need this peace and tranquility? And are there any steps so inshallah they experience that peace and tranquility? Question number 4, what is a warm and inviting home. I'm going to mention this later. What is this? What is a warm and inviting home? And what are the pillars, the arkan of a warm and inviting home? If we want children to experience peace and tranquility, what are some of the things that we're supposed to have in that home? But we start with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the first question, brothers and sisters, and we're going to go to the Quran for this, to look for the answer, but let's think about it for a second. We're spending so far 6 days talking about this topic. What is it that we need this for? What are we pushing so hard for? Now, I think if we just think a little bit, we see that there are times, and this probably has happened to each and every one of us, times in our lives where we say, as mu'mineen and mu'minat, if I had only had a little bit more peace, a little bit more tranquility, if I could have just thought about what I was about to say or about to do just a little bit more, if I had had that internal peace to literally between me and Allah make my best decision, how much better would it have been? Sometimes, because of lacking peace and tranquility, we end up embarrassing ourselves. We end up kicking ourselves. Why did I do this? I made a mistake. I've heard a story that's not true, inshallah. They said that, this isn't true, inshallah. They said that once there was this non-Muslim man, and he really wanted to get married. He was hoping, praying, one day, inshallah, I'll be able to get married. He sat down on an airplane, and next to him sat a young woman. And she was, mashallah, drop dead gorgeous. So he said, let me start a conversation. So he started asking her a little bit about herself, what she was thinking. He found out she was single. He said, oh my God, she's the one. He said, what kind of men are you interested in? She said, well, to be honest with you, I like American Indian men because they have that golden tan and those high cheekbones. She said, but I'm also impressed by Jewish men because they're so brilliant and they're so successful. But also I like good old boys from the South. I love that long Southern drawl. Then she turned to the man. She said, well, what's your name? And he had a panic attack. He said, my name? My name is Geronimo Bernstein, but my friends call me Bubba. Sometimes not having tranquility makes the mu'min or mu'minah embarrass themselves. I could have experienced God's best, but I said something, I did something. If I only had a few minutes to think about it, to ponder over it, I would have made my best decision. Now, our question, the original question is, what is this all for? What do we actually need tranquility for? What does God say we need tranquility for? The answer is very deep. We need it for our journey to Allah. Ayat of Quran. Allah says this, هُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ السَّكِينَةَ فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. God is the one who causes peace and tranquility to descend onto the hearts of the believers. Why does God cause tranquility to descend on the hearts of the believers? What do we need this for? God says, لِيَزْدَادُوا إِيمَانًا مَعَ إِيمَانِهِمْ, that they increase in faith with the faith that they already had. Brothers and sisters, is it possible that someone who is technically mu'min or mu'minah can even increase that faith? The answer is yes. The faith of the believer can increase. This is the beginning of the journey. But there's a way for us, practically speaking, to leave this Muharram with deeper, richer faith than we began it with. Our relationship with Allah can actually be more fulfilling than it was when we began. Now, there are ayat of the Quran, we're not going to get a chance to address them today, ayat of the Quran that talk about this peace and tranquility. You're going to notice two things about those ayat of the Quran. When we cover them, two things you're going to notice. One of them is that this gift of peace and tranquility is something that comes from above. It's a gift from God, right? As Allah says in the Quran, وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ. Your rizq is in heaven. God is the one who gifts this divine trait. The second thing you're going to notice from the ayat of the Quran is the idea that there's always a step that the abd takes, the slave takes. The slave, the mu'min or mu'mina, they take a step and then God sends the gift. So I want to mention one of the verses that talks about this increase of faith. It's a story we've all heard from the Quran, very beautiful story. And then after that, see how we can benefit, inshallah, from Sayyid al-Shuhada. What's the story that's mentioned in the Quran? This is about our prophet Nabi Ibrahim. Our prophet speaks to God. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ. When Ibrahim spoke, Rabb, he says, Rabbi, أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. God, show me how it is that you give life to the dead. How do you give life to the dead? قال, God spoke. أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ. Is it that you don't believe? Ibrahim responded, Bala, of course I believe. وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. I would like my heart to be at peace. There are higher levels of faith even for the Anbiya. What happens is, the Anbiya, as great as they were, as lofty as they were, and we can't imagine the spiritual status of a Nabi like our father Ibrahim. We can't even imagine. But between them and Ahlul Bayt, there's still no comparison. Abba Abdullah, our teacher for these nights, he is someone, the son of that man who famously said, Amir al-Mu'mineen said, he says, لَوْ كُشِفَ الْغِطَاء. If the curtains were drawn back, مَزْدَدْتُ يَقِينًا. My yaqeen wouldn't increase. Amir al-Mu'mineen. If the curtains were removed, if I saw paradise, my yaqeen wouldn't increase. This is the son of that man. And the imam will get you there, mu'mineen and mu'minat. The imam's job, you take him as a teacher, he's going to take you along. Yes, you will have to take some steps, but after that, the imam's going to take you. Now, let me offer a little bit of good news. I don't know, brothers and sisters, if we're not opposed to good news, inshallah. We don't think that the speech only has to be fire and brimstone. There's never any encouragement. Sometimes there's a tiny bit of encouragement. Brothers and sisters, there's something that you and I need to thank God for. You who are the sons and daughters of Imam Khomeini, there's something that you literally need to thank Allah for. Our leader explained it best. He said, those who have done bay'ah with Imam Khomeini have done bay'ah with Rasulullah. Ayat of Quran, what happens to those who've done bay'ah with Rasulullah? God says in the Quran, He says that. So let me first, before I get to the ayat of Quran, why is that such a good thing? Encouragement. These are my words. These are the words of Imam Sadiq. Let's not lose our train of thought. You, believers, who've embraced all of Islam, who are people of wajibat, who've recognized that I must embrace the wilayah of the wali of the time, and I must reject the wilayah of the Yazid of the time. You've made bay'ah to Imam Khomeini. May Allah raise him with the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. What's the principle from Imam Sadiq? Salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. She's okay, inshallah. Salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. What happens is this is a spiritual game changer. The Imam says this, Inna Allah la yastahi. God is not embarrassed, not ashamed, an yu'adhiba ummatan, that he punish and do adhab of a nation, danat bi imamin laysa min Allah, that believes and it has embraced the wilayah of a wali other than Allah. Even if these individuals, they have some good deeds that they're doing, but rejection of the taghut, embracing of the wali, they haven't done. He says this, وَإِن كَانَتْ فِي أَعْمَالِهَا بَرَّةً وَتَقِيَّةً. Even if they're in their a'mal, they are barra and taqiyya. They've done a lot of good deeds. But the big sin, they haven't separated themselves from the tawaghit. On the other hand, you might have someone like us. We do have spiritual difficulties. When we're looking at the ayat of the Quran, the hadith of Ahlul Bayt, we see that there is room for growth. But alhamdulillah, we've embraced the wilayah of the wali. What happens to those people? The Imam says, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَيَسْتَحْيِي. God is definitely embarrassed and يُؤَذِّبَ ummatan, to punish an ummah or a nation, danat bi imamim min Allah, who believe in and have embraced a leader who's divine. وَإِن كَانَتْ فِي أَعْمَالِهَا ظَالِمَةً مُسِيئَةً. Even though they have some mistakes, they have issues, they're still growing, they're not there yet. What was that verse of Quran? Because the leader said, whoever has embraced Imam Khomeini as their leader, they consider themselves the sons and daughters of Imam Khomeini. These individuals, they've done bay'ah with Rasulullah. The verse of Quran is this, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُبَايِعُونَكَ. Those who have done bay'ah to you, Rasulullah, إِنَّمَا يُبَايِعُونَ اللَّهِ. They have done bay'ah to God Himself. Yadullah fawqa aydihim. God's hand is over their hands. So, brothers and sisters, we need to thank Allah for that. Yes, there's a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for improvement, but at least we thank Allah for this. It doesn't mean that there's no room for improvement, of course. We don't want to be like that person who, they alhamdulillah had understood that there is this political dimension to Islam. Islam is all of Islam. Islam is standing against the tawaghit, but it hadn't trickled down into their a'mal. They said this man, unfortunately, he was very, very revolutionary. He was so revolutionary that when he would make salat, before he began his prayer, first he would say the takbir, Allahu Akbar, and then he would say Khomeini Rahbar, and then he would start the surah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So one of the mu'mineen was looking at him. He said, you can't make salat like that. Allahu Akbar, Khomeini Rahbar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So after the prayer, he told him, he said, brother, you know, salah, you can't do that. The man looked at him. He made his Asr prayer. He said, Allahu Akbar, Khomeini Rahbar, Mar bar zidde wilayat faqih. Death to the enemy of the faqih. So, no, there's room for growth, room for improvement. We have to better ourselves. Now, what happens? I'm going to, remember, let's not lose the connection. The Imam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, will get us there. He's going to get us there. I mentioned he's the son of that person who says, if the curtains were removed, my yaqeen wouldn't increase. What does he do for you and I when we're in his camp? Karbala. Brothers and sisters, I mentioned that before that epic battle, when the believers were gathered in the tent on that last night, the Imam said to the believers, you can go, you can leave, take the night as a refuge. They only want me. Now, the believers, the true believers, they stood. They say there were some who escaped. Only the purest of the pure remained, and one individual spoke before everyone else. That person was none other than Abbas. Now you know, it must have been so hard for him even to hear the Imam say those words out loud. Leave. I'll take care of this myself. Go save yourselves. Abbas spoke, and his statement, if you look in the hadith, very brief, but from a heart brimming with yaqeen and Islamic determination, love of the Imam. Abbas, when he spoke, very short, he said, that will never happen. We leave so we can stay alive after you're gone and you've left this world? He said, may God never show us that day. After that, everyone else started speaking. Among them, this famous line where the man said this, Wallah, I swear by God, law alimt, if I knew this, anni uqtal, I would be killed. Thumma uhya, then brought back to life. Thumma uhraq, then burned. Thumma uhya, then given life again. Thumma udra, and then my ashes would be scattered in the air. Yuf'alu dhalika bi sab'ina marra. And I knew this would happen 70 times. He says, Hussein, I would never have abandoned you. Let's remember the principle. This yaqeen is a gift from above. It happens when we're connected to the Imam. But the mu'mineen have to take a step. Then after that, God causes it to descend. What happened on that night after the believers took that first step? The hadith says, إِنَّهُمْ كُشِفَ لَهُمُ الْغِطَاءُ. The veil was removed. حَتَّى رَأَوْا مَنَازِلَهُمْ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. At this stage, they saw their stations in heaven. So brothers and sisters, the Imam will get us there. Our job is to take that Imam as a practical example to try and move in that direction. Now, our job, of course, is to take those steps of faith, because as I mentioned before, there's another question we can ask ourselves. It's possible to increase in faith. Is it possible to start out with strong faith and then have God take it away? Why is it that the wajibat are so important? Yes, it's possible. Someone start out with faith, have yaqeen, then take sin as a habit, insist, belittle the sin. I mentioned the other day the sins of the tongue. How dangerous is that sin if it's inside a family? Because the hadith tell us that khairukum li ahlih. The best of you is the best of the family. Let's say in the family that sin that I do is the sin of the tongue, and I am very foul-mouthed with the family, very disrespectful, say hurtful things, even swear at the family. That's a major sin. So yes, I need to be careful about those sins. I need to take the wajibat very seriously. Now, brothers and sisters, we've got 12 minutes. So inshallah, we're going to start with the most valuable and vulnerable. I mentioned that one of the questions is, well, what do we do to help our families to experience Allah's best? Help them to also experience tranquility. We'll worry about the adults later. Let's think a little bit about what our responsibility is to the children. Do our children, and then now this is responsibility for us, do they have a need for tranquility? Are there any duties that me as a parent, I have to do? It doesn't matter what my spouse is doing. I have to do because I want my children to experience peace and tranquility. Are there any responsibilities? Do we have to work collectively as an ummah to cultivate the love of Abba Abdullah in those youngest children? Is that a responsibility? We mentioned a hadith. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says this, أَدِّبُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ خِصَالٍ. Raise your children in this way. Do tarbiyah in this way, so that your children are raised with 3 characteristics. What is it that your children should get from your household, that warm and inviting house? The Prophet says this: 1, hubbu nabiyikum, deep love, passion for your Prophet. Wa hubbu ahli baytihi, love for the Ahlul Bayt. Wa qira'atul Quran, you want your children to love God's book, not to resent it. That, like yourself, when you're deepening your faith, you read just a little bit of Quran, ponder over it, that this habit is something that's there in this generation, your children's generation, your children's children's generation. What do we have to do in order to make this happen? Again, we go to Karbala. In Karbala, there's a very famous story. This story is about someone who, in some of our ahadith, is a preteen. We're trying to raise children who are loving of Abba Abdullah. According to some of the ahadith, this man is a preteen. This man is named Amr bin Janada al-Ansari. What happens is, this individual, his family, were one of those lucky families who made it to Karbala. His family were socially and politically active. His father was a companion of Rasulullah. But he didn't stop with Rasulullah. He was also fighting alongside Amir al-Mu'mineen, a grizzled veteran of Siffin. This family, its father, mother, and son, they make it to Karbala. When they make it to Karbala, you're going to see from the story, his mother actually is the hero. The heroine of the story is the mother. What happens? The father recognizes that this is a fight against the Yazid of the time. He goes and he offers his life in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After that, the mother tells her son, my young son, go over and defend Hussein. He gets up and he approaches the Imam and he asks the Imam for permission, and the Imam refuses. He says he's very young. His father just lost his life. Maybe his mother's not pleased. The young man turned back to the Imam. He said, Ummi amaratni bidhalik. My mother's the one who's encouraging me. She's the one who told me. The Imam gives him permission, and then he advances. His line of poetry is, Amiri Hussein wa ni'mal amir. My master, my leader is Hussein. Everything about this young man, Hussein. And then he was martyred. When he was martyred, the enemy takes the head of the young man and they cast it back at the camp of Hussein. The mother takes the head. Instead of, now I'm regret, I've lost my son, she shows there is no regret. She casts the head back in the other camp. So our question is, how do we raise our children so they're like Amr? Do we have a responsibility? Is there a need for a tranquil home? Because if there's no responsibility, if there's no practical steps, then we just make dua. Some people are lucky. If it's that the Ahlul Bayt have given guidance, then no, there's a responsibility. Now, what happens is, a warm and tranquil home, brothers and sisters, has to have 5 characteristics. 5 characteristics. I'm just going to mention these characteristics briefly. There's obviously, we could go into them, but briefly, at least let's know what these characteristics are in order for our home to be warm and inviting. If our home is not warm and inviting, brothers and sisters, if it's a tense home, if there's screaming and shouting in our home, if there's not a lot of love in our home, we are pushing our children towards inhiraf. Those homes that aren't warm and inviting, it's natural the children who don't feel peace, love, security, that deep affection, appreciation, it's natural you'll see those kids looking for love elsewhere. They're vulnerable. But it's the parents who do this. The home isn't inviting. What is that home like? We learned it has 5 characteristics. 1, it's a home where there's a lot of love. 2, it's a home where there's lots of respect. 3, it's a home where everybody in the house feels appreciated. 4, there's a home where there is trust. The individuals trust one another. And 5, it's a home of spirituality. Those 5 need to be there. Now, I'd like to explain a little bit about the concept of love. If we want our children to have love of Ahlul Bayt, how much responsibility do we have to be loving towards them and also our spouses who are perhaps imperfect? The Urafa tell us that warm and inviting home, our children, they like to see, they need to see that daddy and mommy are tight, they're close, they're in love. The children need to see this. It's reassuring for the children when they know the house is safe. Children, when they're very small, they might not know how we're doing financially. But even when you're very young, you can pick up if daddy and mommy aren't doing so well. What's my responsibility? To make sure that the house is warm and inviting. Just 2 hadith, inshallah. One about the husband and wife, and then after that we'll move on. The hadith says this, because there's great spiritual rewards for being loving. Inna rajul, if a man is like this, إِذَا نَظَرَ إِلَى امْرَأَتِهِ وَنَظَرَتْ إِلَيْهِ, she looks at him with love. He looks at her with love. نَظَرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى إِلَيْهِمَا, God looks at these two birrahma. You and I, a loving house, appreciation of one another, kind to one another, seeing the good in one another. The benefit is God looks at that house, at those individuals with love. If we're loving towards our children, if our children grow up in a household where they're literally appreciated, we say it, we express it, we kiss them, we talk to them in such a way the children literally, they feel missed if they're not there. There's some houses where they're very formal. The conversations are pretty much around chores. Did you do the dishes? What's your homework like? Is there love there? Because sometimes it's easy for small children. Sometimes once our children get a little bit older, when they really need love and they're very vulnerable, that love isn't expressed. What happens if we can create that loving household? How does this help our children grow their faith? Our Prophet says, نَظَرُ الْوَلَدِ إِلَىٰ وَالِدَيْهِ, when a parent, a child looks lovingly at his parents, حُبًّا لَهُمَا, out of love for them, this is actually an act of ibadah. If we're loving to our children, what do we get? The Imam tells us, he says this, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَيَرْحَمُ الْعَبْدِ. You and I, we made mistakes. We're looking for forgiveness. We're looking to use these 10 nights to turn our lives around. What is an easy way for us to turn our lives around? How loving are we to our children? Not only our small children, but to our older children. Sometimes we might have disagreements with them. Sometimes we might not be as happy with them. Sometimes they may have made mistakes. How loving am I as a parent? How much do I express my love to my children? Hadith. The Imam tells us this, Inna Allah, truly Allah, la yarhamul abd. God will have mercy on the servant لِشِدَّةِ حُبِّهِ لِوَلَدِهِ, to the extent of how much he or she loves their child. So if we can have those warm and loving households, we've helped our children move on towards Allah. We've also helped ourselves experience Allah's best. But now, inshallah, we're going to move to Karbala. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifana'ik. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. For the love of Sayyida Fatima al-Zahra, another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the love of her sons Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam, please recite a third salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة وموضع الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة وخزان العلم. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, my beloved Holy Prophet, and the Ahlul Bayt. It was in your homes that Allah blessed us with guidance and revelation, and upon you descend the angels day in, day out. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Madloom. صلى الله عليك يا أيها الشهيد في كربلاء. Brothers and sisters, before we take our hearts to Karbala, let us go to Kufa, to the deathbed of Ali alayhi salam. He calls upon Abbas, my son, come here, come here. My daughter Zainab, come here, come here. He puts the right hand of Zainab in the right hand of Abbas, and he looks at him and says, my son Abbas, this is my wadi'ah. Zainab is my entrustment to you. O Amir al-Mu'mineen, if only you saw how he upheld your will, to see what Abbas did for Zainab and Hussein. The family of the Prophet stands without a helper. One by one they have lost their companions and many of their family members. Abbas could no longer stand and watch. He asks Hussein to seek revenge from them. Imam Hussein replies saying, Ya akhi, anta hamilu liwa'i. My brother, you are my flag bearer. How can Imam Hussein let his backbone go into the battlefield? How can Zainab see Abbas go to the battlefield? Upon you be peace, O son of Ali. You bring peace to the camp of purity. How your steps bring comfort to the children. How with you Zainab can sleep peacefully. O flag bearer of Hussein, with you how can there be pain? With you look how peaceful the camp is. No threat of the ropes or chains, until dear Abbas remains. How the enemies were afraid of just his name. Abbas, Abbas, the flag bearer of Hussein, son of Ali. Upon your lips was his name. Abbas, Abbas, the flag bearer of Hussein. Assalamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. Assalamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. Assalamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. On one side the sound of flowing water, on the other side cries Hussein's daughter. On one side the children and all their cries, on the other side the evil laughter. How could he just watch and hear? How could the evil not care? How could anyone treat the children like this? Let me get water, Mawla. Let me comfort Ruqayya. After Abbas, no longer water will she miss. Abbas, Abbas, the flag bearer of Hussein, son of Ali. Upon your lips was his name. Abbas, Abbas, the flag bearer of Hussein. The Imam finally allowed Abbas to go. Hussein looks into his eyes one last time. Zainab prays in his ear and she cries, get water for the children, Abul Fadl. Oh, the hope of the tents, Abul Fadl. Oh, the honor of al-Baneen. Oh, the mirror of Murtada, Abul Fadl. And so Abbas went towards the enemy and said, Ya Umar ibn Sa'd, هذا الحسين ibn bint Rasulillah. You have killed his companions and family. His family and children are thirsty, so give them some water to quench their burning hearts. The narration states that the words of Abbas affected the hearts of the enemy such that some of them began to cry. Shimr called out, Yabna Abi Turab, if the face of the earth was all water and under our control, we would not give you a single drop unless you pledge allegiance to Yazid. Abbas then embarked on his horse and took the water skin. The men could not stand in his way as he reached the Euphrates River, despite their great number. With the scent of death on my hands, I reached the river in sorrow. I raised the water to take a sip and watch it between my fingers flow. The sweetness of the water near, I watch it both glisten and glow. I recall Hussein and those girls. From my hands the water I throw. In thirst they sink, I will not drink the water. Tearless they blink, they speak and think the water. He drops the water and fills the water skin. He puts it on his shoulder and leaves the river. Umar ibn Sa'd shouts, cut the path before him, shoot the canteen. By God, if the water reaches the camp, he will end you all. They surrounded him from all sides as he shouted, I do not fear death. He was ambushed soon by Zayd ibn Warqa from behind and helped by Hakim bin Tufail. They struck him upon his right. They struck him upon his right arm and cut it. Ya Abul Fadl. Abul Fadl took the canteen with his left. He was ambushed again as he says to himself again, from cruelty they have cut off my left hand, my Lord. Let them suffer a great torment. He holds the canteen with his teeth and continues to the camp. Another arrow came, piercing the canteen. Another arrow was shot and hits him in the chest. Another arrow was shot and hits Abul Fadl in the eye. No eye to see, no arms to fight, no water to take to the tents. At this moment, brothers and sisters, another soldier strikes him with a spear upon his head. Oh, when a warrior is struck, how does he break his fall? Abul Fadl falls to the ground upon his face, shouting, my brother Abu Abdullah, adrikni. Can you not hear Ruqayya crying? O commander of my army, rise. Don't you know the tents will start burning? Seeing Abbas like this, Imam Hussein says, الآن انكسر ظهري. Now my back has been broken. Al-Hussein takes Al-Abbas's head and places it in his lap. He begins to wipe the blood off his eyes and sees that he's crying. He asks, "What has made you cry, Ya Abul Fadl?" He replies, "O light of my eyes, how can I not cry when you have come to me and taken my head in your lap? But in an hour, who will lift your head from the ground and wipe the sand off your face? Oh, Ya Hussein, don't take me back to the tent, for I cannot face Ruqayya empty-handed." The Imam returns to the camp, and the women and children begin to cry. It's as if Zainab is telling Abbas, "From your horse descend, my brother. This is the trust from my mother. Your chest the horses will smother. Between us this is the farewell. Your neck and chest to me reveal. Let me embrace and your heart I feel, before they bring their rods of steel and we lose your love tonight. I see the children in their fright. Where is the moon on this night? Even the stars I do not sight. Dark is the road ahead, my dears. Not just the tents, but even my veil. They will attack when they prevail. I call, where are you, my avail? Near the Furat, won't you rise? My eyes, they see you on the ground. Why don't I hear from you a sound? Abbas, please rise and turn around. It is Zainab calling for you. And Abbas replies, my heart, O Zainab, you have broke. When all alone and hurt you spoke, and on your words I now choke. Towards the river don't you gaze. This is a trial from God to try. If you see my arms, don't you cry. Stand from afar and say goodbye. Near the river don't you arrive. As-salamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. As-salamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. Abal Fadl. As-salamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. As-salamu alayka ya Abal Fadl. Alayka ya Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Ya Allah, we ask and call upon you by your greatest name, the mightiest, the most honorable, to send your blessings and praise upon Muhammad and his family, and that you accept us of our worship. We ask that you send your mercy upon the deceased of the believing men and women. We ask by Hussein, the martyr, and his mother and father, whoever was in this gathering of ours and has a need, that you fulfill it for him. Ya Allah. We pray that you relieve the suffering of all those oppressed and that you hasten the return of our 12th Imam. May the peace of Allah be upon the noble Hussein, the children of Hussein, and the family of Hussein. Assalamu ala al-Hussein wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein. Hussein, assalamu ala al-Hussein wa ala salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If the brothers and sisters can please stack the chairs to the side and arrange in lines to begin the Latimia.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Where are your hands to wipe the tears they're crying upon these sands? From thirst these girls are dying. Your banner stands. For Abbas it is calling. Where are your hands? Where are your hands to wipe the tears they're crying upon these sands? From thirst these girls are dying. Your banner stands. For Abbas it is calling. Where are your... Is it the day of judgment? Fires are burning your tent. They cry, holding my garment. Abbas, Abbas. They saw your flag had fallen, confused their only children. One name by them is spoken, Abbas, Abbas. Their skin covered no longer white. In ashes their eyes were shot and set alight. In pieces running from your tent in their fright. It crashes. It cannot be that the tent of Abbas falls. It cannot be These queens unguarded by walls, it cannot be. No Abbas answers their call. Where are your hands? Where are your hands? To wipe the tears they're crying upon these sands. From thirst these girls are dying, your banner stands. For Abbas it is calling, where are your... The last thing they remember on his horse, the flag bearer leaving to bring them water. Abbas, Abbas, auntie, has he not come back? Our tongues from thirst have turned black, they faint resting on my back. Abbas, Abbas, how many hands tug on my dress? Oh brother, I raise my hands, may Allah bless them. Water in the form of our courageous flag bearer. Where are your eyes to gaze upon our anguish? Where are your eyes to watch the fire flourish? Where are your eyes whose sight makes this bear vanish? Where are your hands? Where are your hands to wipe the tears they're crying upon these sands? From thirst these girls are dying, your banner stands. For Abbas it is calling, where are... Could it be that your two palms that ripped apart all our hearts are not attached to your arms? Abbas, Abbas, could it be that an arrow has broken your sister's bone and blood from your eyes would flow? Abbas, Abbas, did your body fall to the ground? It's shaken from Hussein's back, I hear a sound. It's breaking as our uncle Abbas befell. They're asking, Lord, give him wings to fly towards these children. Lord, give him wings, carrying water with him. Lord, give him wings. From his wings they're fast broken. Where are your hands? Where are your hands to wipe the tears they're crying upon these sands? From thirst these girls are dying, your banner stands. For Abbas it is calling, where are your hands? For Abbas it is calling, where are your hands? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. إنا لله وإنا راجعون إنا لله وإنا How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi. How do we bear Abbas, our fallen moon? How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. Zainab has fallen, Hussein's back broken. Oh dear uncle, you are our chosen. Has the flag fallen? And I yell, Baba, Abbas and Hussein. No need for water, I want my uncle. You left with 2 arms, returned with no arms, Ya Abbas, Ya. You left with my wish to bring us water, Ya Abbas, Ya. But now you've left my heart broken, for you're gone, Abbas, Ya Abbas. But now you've left my heart broken, for you're gone, Abbas, Ya Abbas. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillah ilayhi raji'un. How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. Why is he upon my father's chest? Oh, I see my father with Arrow's mother. Where is his brother? And I yell, Baba, Abbas and Hussein. Where have they gone? Oh, I want my uncle. They've chained me up to a camel's back, Ya Abbas, Ya. Why are their bodies laying on these sands, Ya Abbas? Oh, now you've left my heart broken, for you're gone, Abbas, Ya Abbas. Oh, now you've left my heart broken, for you're gone, Abbas, Ya Abbas. Inna lillah wa inna Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. How do I bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. How do I bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. Do they not know that is the neck that our prophet kissed? Heaven's final bliss I see from above. So I yell, Baba, Abbas and Hussein, where have they gone? Oh, I want my uncle. They ripped my earrings right off my ears, Ya Abbas, Ya. They cut his fingers to steal a ring, Ya Abbas. Oh, now you've left my heart broken for you're gone, Abbas, Ya Abbas. Oh, now you've left my heart broken for you're gone, Abbas, Ya Abbas. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. How do we bear to see him? Do they not know that this is the son of Ali and Zahra, the Prince of Heaven? Oh, the oppression and Ayal Baba, Abbas and Hussein, where have they gone? Oh, I want my uncle. I wait for the day Al-Quds is yours, Ya Mawla, Ya Mawla. I wait for the day justice is served, Ya Mawla. I ask for you to come in my life, Ya Mawla, Ya Mawla. Relieve us of these pains brought upon Ya Mawla, Ya Mawla. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ilayhi raji'un. How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. How do we bear to see him? Abbas, our fallen moon. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
زيارة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. الله دعاء الحجة. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة ولكل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us. Inshallah, we will look forward to seeing you all here tomorrow. Like said in previous nights, inshallah, we're going to close down. That way everybody could get home to pray in time. But inshallah, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, we will be praying together, inshallah. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Mawla Aba Abdullah, my every breath is for you. Labbaik ya Thar Allah.
Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? All of the pain that I've been through all goes away every night that I call on you. All of my life I wish I knew I could be at your shrine if I just cried for you. You were my first love on this earth. My heart has been burning for you ever since birth. With my last breath, I want to see your face above, telling me that you accept me. I wish I was in Karbala. For you I'd go instead of the son of Layla. My chest for you until today is a shield. I hope to die while on your way. Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Every night I remember you. On the day of regret, won't you look at me too? Ya Hussein, Ya